Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to do something super foundational. This video is for my series for art journaling for beginners. And today we're going to do an exercise. Actually, we're going to do 3 different exercises that are all based around the concept of the color wheel. And I have found this to be one of the best exercises you can do to really get to know your materials, to understand color mixing, and to just have that wonderful experience, which actually I think creates absolutely gorgeous spreads when you put it together. And I'm doing it in 3 different ways, which I'll go into in a second. My name is Amanda Close, and I have been making art in art journals for over 8 years. I've been keeping a journal since I was 12, and I really believe in the restorative power of unplugging, laying some color down, maybe doing some writing. So grab a cup of tea, maybe iced tea, given how hot it is outside, and join me in a second. But first of all, I just want to say a few things about the color wheel. In the beginning, I was a little bit impatient. I just wanted to get to it. I wanted to paint my landscapes, or I wanted to dive right into whatever it was I wanted to do. But over the years, I have to say, I've come back to the color wheel again and again because there's actually a million ways you can work with it. And so it's really worthwhile just to slow down and give it a try. And I hope you'll paint along with me, or watch and then paint and then tell me how you do. So I find color wheels really important because you really have that flow state as you're painting. You get into it, you want to think about how the colors react to each other. If you're mixing, you want to make sure you're understanding the proportions of what goes into what. And the second reason is that you really do learn something by doing that work of really placing colors side by side and also creating colors out of the colors that you've selected. And it's just really nice to have spent maybe 20 minutes on something and feel as though it's a really beautiful part of your journal. Okay, so the 3 exercises we're going to do today. The first is basically a primaries exercise. I have been working in this thing, which if you looked at my very first video in this series, this is the set that I recommended. I'm just doing the 3, it's like basically the 3 that are closest to kind of primaries. It's this lemon yellow, which is very dirty right now, but that's okay. This is, I think it's like a carmine. It's tricky. All of the different brands have different names for things, but it's a kind of a bright red. It's leaning away from crimson, more towards a naphtha red for anybody who's got a little bit more experience. So there's a little bit more orange to it, not as much blue. And then the blue, I'm using what I believe to be their ultramarine, just because these 3 lined up and it was a fun way to do it. So I'll use those 3. That's the color mixing version. Then for the placement version, and you'll see what I'm talking about as I get into this, I'm using all of these colors. I didn't get into the neutrals just because for this purpose, I wanted to focus on the colors. And what I do with these is I place them. So rather than mixing the colors as we do in the first one, I basically just wanted to lay down whatever colors I have and put them in relationship, because they're not sitting necessarily in the order that I would put them on the color wheel. And so it's fun to go back and recreate that yourself. And then the third activity that we're going to do is a found materials exercise. So I basically do, whoopsies, no idea what I just dropped. I did a modified color wheel. This is more of an arch, or I guess it could be kind of a rainbow, but not really, because rainbows go, I don't know. Anyway, you can call it what you like. This is one of my collaborative journals with a friend. I hope she doesn't mind that I am showing it here on the television. But I was about to send it off to her, and I realized that I would love to just do this exercise in this, and it would be fun for her to have that surprise and delight. So I may be wrecking the surprise right now. I'm not sure if she's going to be watching. But anyway, this is the 3rd version, which I will walk everybody through as well. So that's the plan for today. I'm so glad you're here. I hope you play along, and let's just get into the colors. The first thing that I do to set up the color wheels is to find something round. You can use a plate or a bowl. I happen to use tape, and I set up the circle. Now, some people will measure outlines. You can see that I did that on the left, but then quickly abandoned that. What I've set up on the left is the color mixing. So these are the 3 primaries that I'll slow down the video in a second and show you. I actually got started with it and then got into the found colors, which will be on the right-hand side of the page. And the reason I did that was just to be able to compare and contrast the differences across these two different techniques. One on the left, which will be eventually the mixed versions, and on the right, it's literally, you can see, I'm just helping myself to the paints on the palette and trying to place them where I think that they belong. You got the reds beside the yellows, filling in the oranges, adding in the crimson and the magenta colors as you make your way around the color wheel. And that's really what I'm doing on the right hand side here. I decided as I was going that I wanted to start the mixed color wheel on the left and then let it dry a bit, so that as the colors run, which they inevitably do whenever I get into these kinds of exercises, I still am maintaining that crucial kind of core piece. Yeah, it's just a very fun and soothing exercise. I definitely went overboard on that blue, which is one of my favorite colors. Just adore it. And I just make my way around. You will see that I take some time throughout this process to manage the water. This is one of the real skills that comes with time, and frankly, some days I'm really good at it and some days I'm not. But you want to think about how much water you have in your brush, especially if you're trying to get those fine points. I am using a nice brush that has a very nice point, so it makes it easier to get those nice clean lines side by side. I tend to like the little bits of white that show through, but I know some people are not as crazy about that. So it's really up to you in terms of what you're interested in and how you want your wheel to look. And that's something that you'll work on over time as you establish what your style or your sort of approach might be. So now that we have completed our kind of fill in color wheel and it's drying, I am going to go back to the primary version where I've selected these three colors, and I'll just label them. This is ultramarine. This is probably lemon yellow. And this is probably scarlet. You guys can check my work. I'm not sure exactly which one I picked. It's that one, the second one in, and I don't have my color sheet with me. Clearly, I could have my color sheet with me, and that would make this easier. But basically, the idea for this side was really using the colors that we have available to us. On this side, I wanted to do a simplified, actually constructing the color wheel by mixing, and this is a really important thing to do, especially when you're just learning, because it's a great way to understand how colors interact with each other. And you'll want to have a lot of water. You'll want to have something to clean your brush with as you go forward, and give this a try. So this one is going to be very lemony, so very yellow. So that's going to be the first step. I'm going to try to do 3 steps here. I'm not sticking too closely to the lines because honestly, I don't care that much. I like it when things are a little bit messy. Now I'm going to just add a little bit more red with each step. And so this one becomes much more orange, you'll see. Far more orange, tending much more towards the red. And so you start to get a sense of the range that just with these few colors, you can really get to. And then the final is, again, more red. I think the one thing that you start to learn as you do this exercise is how certain pigments, like I would probably guess that this red, can be a little bit overpowering. And so it's not always a perfect kind of one-to-one, because sometimes with certain blues and with certain reds, you'll see that they just tend to take over. That's something to watch for. Okay, so that's the red. Let's do blue and yellow. Let's see, cleaning my brush. I've got the yellow, putting it here with some water. Already my water needs cleaning. That's the tricky part with all this stuff. And I'm just going to go in with some blue. And that made a kind of an interesting green color. I want this to be really tending really yellowy green. So I'm going to go back in. I think that conversation about the kind of bully color is pretty clear here. So you've got this one, which is the yellowy green. But I will say the one thing about doing this is you do start to see some real cohesiveness in the color wheel, like it's all related to each other because you've constructed these greens and other colors from the colors that are already here. So there's a nice cohesion to it. And I've got some stuff running. I'm not too bothered by it. If you have more coordination, maybe you'll be better than me in terms of not having the lines run over. But it's an interesting exercise to do. And I chose what I think are as close to kind of true primaries in this set as we have. I will say you can do this with a different range. So, for example, if you did the magenta or the pink as the primary red, you get very different colors, in some cases more vibrant purples and things like that. Let's see how we do. I've had trouble in the past getting this red and this blue to really make beautiful purples. I think there's just a little too much orange in it, but let's give it a try. Why not? All right, so this is tending a little bit, yeah, that's got a red feel to it. It's more of a kind of a muted color as we get there. Let's do a little more blue. That's looking more purpley. All right, let's see how that goes. Now I do have a lot of water on the brush right now, so that might be affecting some of this as well. And that's one of the reasons why doing this exercise is so helpful in terms of learning how to use your paints and really understanding both the colors as well as the saturation, how they mix with each other. This is just a really good exercise in general to do. And now the final one, it's very blue, and I'm good with that. And once again, I ran and I don't mind. I think it's going to be beautiful. Because honestly, look at this page. It's just gorgeous. You just can't can't complain about spending 20 minutes doing this exercise. To close out, I feel like the best thing to do is to definitely, I always like to date things. So I'm going to do 6, 26, 25, and I'll take a little time to let this dry and then I'll go back in and do some writing. And I think the prompt for today should be about mood, because I think color can capture a mood so much. So as you look at this spread, what is the color that most appeals to you today? It's going to be different on different days, and maybe write about why that might be. All right. Thanks, everybody. Okay, the third color wheel we're going to do, what I'd like to do is, and I encourage you all to do this, raid your recycling, get any kind of magazine or catalog, and go on a color hunt. So what I did off screen was basically go through and just try to find all of the primaries and secondary colors. That means yellow, blue, and red. And it means orange, green, and violet. And then I looked for as many kind of color variations as I could find, and I just really roughly cut them out. And the idea now is that I will use this collection of colors that I have collected, and I'm going to create a wheel or an arch or something like that. I may not use all of these pieces that I have, but I'm going to create something in my journal using this glue, which I highly recommend. It's the Mono Liquid Glue Aqua from Tombow. And I'm going to continue to use these smaller scissors because they're easier to work with. And I'm just gonna really be loose, and I'm not gonna overthink the perfect arch or the how it is gonna look. I'm basically going to find holes and fill things in with a loose interpretation of where I think the colors sit related to each other. And that's really the value of this exercise is one is just really working in color and having fun with it and doing some kind of a collage project, which is always enjoyable. And two is really having the ability to put colors together and determine, okay, this leans a little bit more purple. This one definitely leans more orange. And being able to construct something that is visually interesting. Now, there are a few pieces that I cut out just because I really like them. Like this one I thought was really interesting. There's the print from some piece of clothing, and it actually has complementary colors together. So it's got red and green. This one is more side by side on the color wheel. We've got the pink and the orange together, and I really love that as well. So I'm going to try to work that in. It's almost like a quilting project. In fact, I've seen some beautiful quilts that take this similar approach with different patterns going all the way around. But we're not going to be as structured. I'm not big on measuring in my art journal. I feel like the fun is the freedom to just create. So that is the plan for this round. Thanks everybody for being here. If you have made it to the end of this video, I am rooting for you. I'm rooting for you no matter how much you've watched this video. And I hope that you're having a wonderful summer. If you're here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's just kicking off with us. I'm hoping to get out in future videos to do some plein air sketching and some other things. I hope you will subscribe, follow all the things. Please do comment below if you have had fun with this exercise or if you hated it. I'd also love to know. I know I went through a brief period of really kind of loathing the color wheel, but over the years I've definitely warmed up to it, and it's just a great excuse to dive into all of your materials and have a great time. So I hope everyone's doing great, and I'll see you soon.